Since we don't have Bible study this week, I wanted to send a message to you through Facebook, and I want to talk to you about this tape measure here. If I was measuring something in the shop, say I was doing some woodworking or I was working on some metal, I'd want to use this same tape measure throughout the whole project. Every piece that I cut that goes into that project that I'm making, I want to use the same tape measure, because even though you look at a tape measure and you say, well, it's just inches and feet, and or maybe if you're in metric it's centimeters and meters, but you say, well, they're all the same. Well, yes and no. They're all measured to a standard, but each one of them has differences. So if I change tape measures during the project, I'm going to have slight differences. Be small, but they be slight differences. Okay? Or if I was out here in these beautiful mountains in Alaska, I wouldn't take that same tape measure and try to measure these mountains. But one, it would take me forever to try to measure these mountains with a 25-foot tape measure. Okay? The same thing with a life. We can't measure a life with a tape measure. So how do we measure a good life? Do we compare one another, our achievements, our goals, our careers, maybe the awards that we have hanging on the wall, maybe the amount of friends we have, maybe the amount of likes we have, or tweets we have? Is that the really accurate measurement of a life? There was a man named Tolstoy, an extraordinary writer, one of the most brilliant minds of his time. He was celebrated throughout the world for his achievements. Wherever he went, he was a celebrity in his time. And he got to the end of his life, and looking around, he had this hollowness, this emptiness inside. Even though everyone was praising him and he was a celebrity, he had a huge mansion, wonderful family, he became so depressed because inside he had left something behind many years ago. He confessed in a book towards the end of his life that when he was 10 years old, a friend came to him at school. That might be you. He said that friend came one day at school and was so excited because he had found some new truth that he wanted to share with everybody. And that truth was that there was no God. He didn't have any factual proof. He didn't have any great evidence. He just had this revelation, this personal revelation, that there was no God, and there was no way to prove God. And so if you can't prove God, then there must not be any God. And so they joyfully accepted this 10-year-old's word that there was no God, and they kind of threw off everything that they grew up believing. But inside, he still believed. Inside, he struggled with, while he was getting praise for this new truth, and as he was writing and expounding on these different philosophies, these different ways of thinking, he realized that he was missing something. And years later, as an old man, he confessed that the thing that he had left behind was his faith. And it took him a long time, a long, hard struggle that he said many people never come to. They never have that opportunity. They never rediscover the faith that they had as a child. We've talked about, as we've gone through the book of Mark, that these aren't just stories about Jesus. They're not just fairy tales about Jesus. They're eyewitness testimonies in court cases. Paul and Peter, their lives are on the line. And these writers have gone to great lengths and many sacrifices to record what Jesus said and what Jesus did. So this week, while we're not having Bible study, I want you to go back. Go through some of the lessons that we've gone through. Go back and read some of the testimonies about Jesus. Remember, he has power over creation. He has power over Satan's forces. He has power over sickness and power over death. And when we get back and we go through the crucifixion and the resurrection, you'll have to decide, is he a liar, a lunatic, or is he really telling us the truth?